There's something I want to show you, something that only appears when your mind begins to soften, the way the world quiets just before sleep. You don't have to move quickly. In fact, everything here seems to prefer when you take your time. Even the air feels warm and unhurried, like it's been waiting all day to exhale with you. Do you see this hallway? It doesn't exist in any building you've ever walked through, and yet it feels strangely familiar, almost like a place you used to visit without knowing, a place that has always been here, just waiting for you to return to it on nights like this. The walls are dim and gentle, not shadowed, just soft, like the inside of a seashell. And as you take your first quiet steps through the hallway, there's no echo. Every sound you make is absorbed by something tender, as if this corridor understands that your thoughts have been too loud lately, and it's doing its best to hush the world for you. At the far end, there's a lantern, a small one, warm, steady. Its glow reaches you long before you're close enough to touch it, and something inside you loosens just a little at the sight of it, like a gentle hand brushing through tangled threads in your chest. Maybe you didn't realize how tightly you'd been holding everything together today. Maybe you didn't realize how much you needed a soft place to land until the lantern appeared. As you walk closer, its light doesn't flicker or flare. It simply glows, with a kind of quiet loyalty, as if it's been lit for you alone. Not to guide you somewhere grand or dramatic, but simply to remind you that there is a part of your inner world dedicated entirely to rest. A sanctuary that never rushes you, never questions you, never asks for anything in return. And as you step nearer, that warm glow wraps gently around your shoulders. Isn't it strange how light can feel like a touch? How something so simple can feel like recognition? You pause for a moment before reaching it, not because you're unsure, but because the calm you're feeling is almost surprising. You can sense the shift, that subtle melting at the edges of your thoughts, the way your breath begins to settle into a slower rhythm without you having to tell it to. The lantern hangs from a small hook in the wall, its metal old enough to carry a few soft scratches, like it has lived many years of quietly offering comfort. You lift it gently, and the light expands just a little, spilling across your hands and illuminating the slightest smile you didn't know was forming. With the lantern in your grasp, the hallway seems to breathe. The air grows warmer, the shadows soften even further. And that's when you notice it. At the edge of the lantern's glow, far down the hallway you just walked, the world behind you fades, and the world ahead begins to open, revealing the hint of something hidden, something waiting. Somewhere deep inside you understand. This lantern is not simply a light, it's a permission, a quiet invitation, and tonight you've accepted it. Holding the lantern, you continue walking, and the hallway seems to grow gentler with every step, as if it's relieved you didn't turn back. The floor is cool under your feet, not cold, just steady, like a hand laid softly atop your thoughts to keep them from drifting too fast. And ahead, the air begins to shift. It thickens slightly, in that comforting way nighttime air does. Before rain, when everything feels suspended and expectant, that's when you see it. A door, quietly waiting for you at the end of the corridor. It isn't grand or imposing. In fact, it looks almost shy. A wooden door with edges softened by time, paint fading into warm, muted tones. It's the kind of door that doesn't demand attention. It simply exists with the patience of something that trusts you'll come to it when you're ready. You stop a few steps away, and for a moment, you simply look. Have you ever seen a doorway that felt like a question? Not a rushed, anxious question, but the kind that hums softly in your chest, asking only, "Are you ready to rest?" The lantern's light settles over the door, revealing delicate grain lines in the wood that almost resemble the slow rhythm of breathing in and out, in and out, a quiet echo of your own body. You reach out a hand, but the door doesn't open. Not yet. And strangely, that doesn't frustrate you. Because something about this door feels sensitive, intuitive, almost aware. It seems to understand the difference between a hand reaching from tension and a hand reaching from softness. So you let your shoulders fall a little. You let the day loosen its grip. You let one deep breath sink down into your chest, uncoiling something inside you. The lantern glows a little warmer in response. You try again, not with effort, but with ease. Your fingers rest against the wood, and this time the door responds like something exhaling. A faint warmth spreads beneath your fingertips, as though the door has been absorbing calm for decades and is now offering some of it back to you. Without sound, without resistance, it begins to open. Just enough at first. Like it wants to be sure you're really here, that you've arrived not just physically but inwardly. And you have. You can feel it. Some part of you that was tangled or rushed has finally slowed to the doorway's pace. The gap widens, the hinges moving as quietly as a whisper. The lantern light spills in, revealing a sliver of a room beyond. Warm, golden, and full of a hush so deep it feels like stepping into the pause between heartbeats. And as the door opens the rest of the way, a soft thought drifts through you, unspoken but understood. This room will only ever open for you when you approach it gently, not when you're overwhelmed, not when you're pushing yourself, not when you're bracing, only when you're ready to let something, finally, be easy. You cross the threshold. The door settles quietly behind you, and the hidden study welcomes you with the kind of silence that doesn't feel empty, but full of your own peace waiting to be reclaimed. The first thing you notice as you step into the study is the silence. Not the hollow, echoing kind, but the soft, velvety silence that feels like a blanket being drawn gently around your shoulders. It's the kind of quiet that invites you to breathe a little deeper, as if it's been holding a place for you all this time. The lantern in your hand brightens just a little, adjusting to the room the way eyes adjust to dusk. Its glow reaches outward in a soft arc, revealing shelves, so many shelves, stretching up the walls like calm wooden trees bearing strange, luminous fruit. And on those shelves are jars, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, each one holding a small, dim light inside, some glowing faintly, like a memory drifting. Half asleep, others pulsing softly like a thought that once buzzed loudly but has finally tired itself out. You take a few slow steps deeper into the room. The floor is warm here, not heated, but simply holding the temperature of a place that has known only peace for so long. The air smells faintly of old paper and cool night air, the kind that carries the echo of distant rains and quiet mornings. You lift the lantern a little higher, and the nearest jar comes into view. Inside it floats something you recognize, not visually but emotionally, a feeling you've tucked away before, a worry that once weighed heavily but eventually fell asleep inside your mind. Seeing it contained like this, small, safe, glowing only enough to be seen, brings an unexpected comfort, almost a tenderness. Do you feel it too? That strange sense of affection for your own past thoughts, now resting quietly instead of crowding your mind. You walk slowly along the shelves, and the jars shimmer under the lantern's warm trail. Some hold swirling wisps of pale blue, others tiny golden embers drifting in slow circles. Some glow with the faintest pink like early sunrise mist. Each jar feels like a piece of your inner world resting deeply, undisturbed. On one shelf a jar flickers, not anxiously, but as if it sensed you passing by and stirred a little in its sleep. You pause, drawn to it. Inside, a small spiral of silver light moves dreamily, stretching and curling like a sigh. You touch the jar lightly, and instead of awakening, the little light settles, sinking into stillness as though reassured by your presence. That's when you realize something. None of these jars are here to trap or silence your thoughts. They're here to rest them. This room isn't about control, it's about gentleness. It's about letting the mind place things down, not sharply, not forcefully, but the way one might set a tired book aside on a bedside table. As you continue, wandering, you feel the study subtly adjusting around you. The lantern's glow softens further, the shelves seem to lean ever so slightly inward, and a quiet warmth gathers in your chest, like a memory of being somewhere safe long ago. Each jar you pass becomes a reminder. Your thoughts don't need to shout to be valid. They don't need to be solved in a hurry. They can rest, just like this. And so, in the heart of this hidden study, surrounded by shelves of sleeping thoughts, you begin to feel something rare and precious, a sense that your mind is no longer a place of noise, but of gentle, shimmering quiet. There is a moment, as you drift away from the shelves, when the glow of the lantern seems to lean forward, almost nudging you towards something waiting deeper inside the room. The study feels different here, more open, as though the air has been holding a quiet secret just for you. And then you see it. A desk. Not large or imposing, just a humble wooden desk, placed near the center of the room, warmed by the hush of the lantern light. Its surface is smooth with age, edges rounded not by craftsmanship, but by years of being touched gently, rested upon, trusted. It has the quiet dignity of something that has listened far more than it has spoken. You approach slowly. There's no reason to rush. Everything about this desk invites unhurried steps, soft breaths, a kind of presence you haven't given yourself in a while. As you come closer, you notice a shallow bowl carved directly into the wood at the center of the desk. It's small, simple, and empty. Yet you can feel a faint warmth rising from it, like the last glow of embers in a fireplace long after the flames have faded. You set the lantern down beside it, and the light gathers in gentle ripples across the desk's surface. Something inside you shifts. It's not a dramatic feeling, not a sudden drop or a jolt or a burst. It's quieter, like the moment you realize you've been clenching your jaw without noticing, and you finally let it go. A warmth settles in your chest, and you can feel the room leaning closer around you, not to confine you, but as if it's holding its breath in the softest anticipation. You run your fingertips along the shallow bowl, and the wood hums. A subtle vibration, barely there, a reminder that this place isn't ordinary. It responds to you. It listens. It feels the weight you carry even when you try to hide it. One small thought rises in your mind. A worry from earlier, something heavy or sharp or simply tired, and without quite meaning to, you imagine placing that worry into the bowl. Not perfectly, not clearly, just the essence of it, the weight of it, in the form of a quiet breath you let out over the wood. The bowl warms, not hot, not burning, just warm enough to melt something inside you. And before your eyes a soft glow gathers in the bowl, the same color as your worry felt. If it was heavy, but gentler, the glow becomes pale and buoyant. If it was sharp, the glow softens into round, drifting edges. If it was tangled, the glow unwinds into slow spirals of light. You watch, not startled but fascinated, because it feels strangely natural. As though this is how worries were always meant to be handled, not gripped, not fought, not hidden, but offered gently so they can loosen themselves. The glow lifts just a few inches, suspended, weightless, like a dandelion seed, caught in a slow-motion breeze, and then, with a tiny sigh you feel more than here, it dissolves, not disappearing, but transforming into a faint warmth drifting through the room, slowly joining the restful atmosphere of the study. You feel lighter, Not entirely free, you're human after all, but lighter in the way that truly matters tonight. You rest your hands on the desk for a moment longer. It feels like leaning against something that understands you without needing a single word. When you finally lift the lantern again, the bowl glows faintly as though grateful, or perhaps as though it has accepted the responsibility of holding your burdens until they turn soft enough to let go. And as you step back from the desk, you realize something quietly beautiful. Here, your worries don't vanish. They rest, they soften, they turn light enough for the night to carry. There's a stillness in the air as you step away from the desk, a feeling like the room is shifting its attention, gently guiding your gaze toward a quieter corner of the study. It isn't dark, not exactly. More like dusk gathered in a single spot, waiting for a soft moment to reveal something it has been hiding just for you. And then you see it, a quill, resting on a narrow pedestal carved from pale wood, almost glowing in the lantern light. It's delicate, feather-light from a distance, but there is something undeniably alive about it, a faint shimmer along its edge, a tiny pulse of warmth you can feel even from where you stand. You take a step closer. It doesn't move, yet you have the strange sensation that it noticed you, not in a way that startles, more like a small animal lifting its head when someone it trusts enters the room. The quill is made of something you can't quite identify. It isn't feather, isn't metal, isn't anything the waking world is made of. It looks almost like a piece of moonlight that learned how to hold a shape, thin and soft and impossibly gentle. You reach it slowly, because slow feels natural here. Your hand hovers above it, and the quill answers with a breath-like shift in the air, a whisper, though there is no sound. And then, when you finally touch it, it warms, just enough to let you know that it understands why you're here. The pedestal beneath the quill slides open by itself, revealing a sheet of thick, velvety paper. Blank, patiently waiting. The kind of paper that makes you feel as though whatever you write will be held with immense tenderness, protected from hard edges and judgment. You let the quill rest between your fingers. It feels weightless at first, and then surprisingly present, as if it has decided to meet you exactly where your thoughts are tonight. You don't raise it. You don't need to. The quill lifts itself, hovering just above the paper, waiting for you to breathe. And when you do, the quill begins to move. No scratching, no ink, no sound at all, just the soft glide of something deeply attuned to the quiet parts of you, the parts that rarely speak, the parts that hold feelings in the chest rather than words on the tongue. It writes sensations. It writes exhales. It writes the shape of the thoughts you never fully formed. Curves, spirals, slow arches across the page, patterns that seem to translate the emotional weather inside you into something gentle and visible. As the quill moves, the paper begins to glow faintly wherever the tip touches, tiny soft lights blooming like fireflies caught in the act of exhaling. You watch, entranced. Is this what your inner voice looks like when it's not weighed down by noise? Is this what your feelings become when they're allowed to move without pressure? The quill pauses, not because you're done, but because it senses something easing inside you, something loosening like a knot finally given permission to unfurl. The last curve it draws shimmers, and then dissolves into faint particles of light that rise from the page and drift into the air like warm snowflakes. And somehow, watching those lights rise, watching them break apart gently, becoming part of the room, makes you feel as though something inside you has finally been acknowledged, not solved, not fixed, just understood. The quill settles back onto the pedestal, quiet again. But you know now that it's ready whenever you are. Ready to listen, ready to translate, ready to whisper your unspoken thoughts into softness. And as you lift the lantern once more, the page fades back to blank, not erasing your feelings but freeing them. You move quietly from the quill's corner, the lantern resting warm in your hand, and the air in the study changes again. This time growing cooler, softer, almost hushed in anticipation. It feels like the room is guiding you towards something it only reveals when someone is truly ready to rest, truly ready to sink into their own quiet. The light pulls your gaze toward the far wall, where a tall window stands waiting. You didn't notice it before, perhaps because it only appears when the mind begins to unclench. Its frame is made of dark wood, smooth as river stones, absorbing rather than reflecting the lantern light. And behind the glass, there is no outside world, no street, no buildings, no landscape you've ever seen. Instead, there is a sky. A night sky that feels impossibly close, as if you could lean forward and fall right into it. The stars are not the ordinary ones you know. They aren't sharp or glittering. They glow softly like tiny breaths of light drifting across an endless velvet canvas. You step toward the window. The floor cools beneath your feet, like stepping into a place where the air is woven from calm itself. As you reach the glass, you realize something quietly astonishing. This sky is not the sky above the world. It's the sky above your mind. The stars shimmer slowly, unhurried. Some move in gentle arcs, leaving trails of pale gold or silver that fade like sighs. Others drift in small circles, spiraling lazily, as if stretching before settling again. You feel a subtle pull in your chest. Not uncomfortable, just familiar. The way you feel when a memory stirs gently, or when an emotion that once felt overwhelming finally begins to soften. Because each star, each glowing cluster, each wandering constellation is one of your thoughts. Not the noisy ones. Those stay outside, behind the closed door you pass through. These are the deeper thoughts, the quiet truths, the longings you rarely name, the hopes you hold so softly they almost feel like dreams. You lift your hand and rest your fingertips against the cool glass, and a star responds. It brightens, shyly, sweetly, expanding into a soft blossom of light. For a heartbeat, you feel something in your chest warm in return, like the star was echoing a feeling you hadn't found words for yet. Another drifts closer, a pale blue star, moving with the slow confidence of something that knows you well. It pauses just in front of you, hovering as if waiting for you to acknowledge it. You do. You breathe, and it pulses gently before continuing its journey across the sky. There is no urgency here, no story to interpret, no lesson to learn. Just the quiet truth that your inner world contains far more softness than you usually allow yourself to see. You notice a constellation, forming in the distance, faint threads of light weaving together like a delicate thought, finally finding shape. You watch it appear, star by star, until it resembles something comforting, the curve of a resting figure, or the outline of a hand reaching gently toward yours. It changes subtly each time you blink, as if shaped by your breathing, and then you realize something. This sky has been here all along, waiting behind your thoughts, waiting beneath the noise, waiting in the stillness you rarely visit. You rest your forehead lightly against the window. The glass cools your skin, the stars move in their unhurried dance. And you feel, perhaps for the first time tonight, that everything inside you is allowed to drift, to glow, to settle in its own time. No pressure, no pushing, just a quiet, cosmic reminder that your mind can be a place of softness too. You step away from the window, carrying the image of that gentle night sky with you. It's drifting, stars, its unhurried constellations, and as you turn, the lantern light shifts again. This time, it settles not upward or outward, but downward, spreading across a quiet corner you haven't explored yet. And there it is, a chair, not ornate or dramatic. Nothing in this room ever tries to impress you. Instead, the chair looks familiar. as if you've sat in it before, in a dream you nearly remembered upon waking. Its shape is simple, but there's something tender in the way the cushions sink ever so slightly at the center, like it's been waiting for the exact weight of your body, and no one else's. You approach it slowly, feeling the air around it shift into a warmer temperature, like stepping into a pocket of sunshine preserved in the middle of the night. The chair does something subtle as you come closer. It softens, not visibly, not in any sudden way, but you can feel it, the way a mattress softens when a familiar presence sits on the edge, or the way a pet settles deeper when you return home. A gentle yielding, a welcoming. You lower the lantern onto a small table beside the chair, and its glow pools into the cushions, revealing a texture that feels like a cross between velvet and something dreamlike, something that wasn't woven, but grew naturally from comfort itself. When you finally sit down, the chair remembers. It remembers the curve of your spine, the slope of your shoulders, the quiet fatigue you don't tell anyone about, the deep sigh you've been holding in your chest for hours, maybe days. The cushions rise subtly beneath you, shifting not randomly but with an instinct, adjusting, molding, lifting where you need support, sinking where you need softness. It's like settling into a version of rest crafted exactly for you, the way you might lean into someone who already knows the weight you carry. And as the chair settles with you, your entire body feels understood. You lean back. The fabric warms beneath your skin, spreading from your shoulders down through your ribs, down to your hips, your legs, your feet. Your breath deepens without effort. Your spine unwinds, vertebra by vertebra, the way a coiled ribbon relaxes in warm water. For a long moment, nothing happens. And that is the gift. Nothing needs to happen. This chair doesn't try to fix you. It doesn't evaluate you. It doesn't ask for stillness. It gives you stillness. It holds you like a memory of rest you once had, maybe in childhood, maybe long before that. Maybe in a story someone whispered to you, in a moment of kindness you forgot you'd lived. Your fingers trail along the armrest and feel a faint hum beneath the surface. The same hum you felt in the desk earlier, but softer, more like a heartbeat sinking to yours. And then the chair does something extraordinary in the gentlest, quietest way. It exhales. You can't hear it, you feel it. A slow, warm release that moves up your back and along your sides. A signal for your muscles to unclench, for your mind to step out of its own way. Your body responds instantly, melting deeper into the cushions, into the warmth, into the memory of effortless rest. You close your eyes. For a moment, the entire study breathes with you. Shelves glowing faintly, the window dimming into a softer night, the lantern lowering its flame so the room can grow even more peaceful. The chair holds you through all of it, not gripping, just supporting, like the hands of someone who knows exactly how to help you let go. And in that stillness, you realize this chair isn't shaped for anyone else. It remembers you, your softness, your weariness, your quiet wish, even now, to rest just a little deeper, a little longer, without needing to earn it. And tonight, in this hidden study, that wish is enough. You remain in the chair for a long, uncounted stretch of quiet, long enough that the lantern's glow settles into a soft, breathing pulse. Long, enough for the shelves of sleeping thoughts to dim into a dreamy haze. Long enough for the window's night sky to drift into slower, sweeter constellations. Nothing rushes you. Nothing nudges you onward. The room seems perfectly content to hold you just as you are, resting, breathing, dissolving gently into calm. And yet, at some point, a subtle shift passes through the study. Not a sound, not a breeze, more like a quiet knowing, a tender sense that the room understands you've reached the depth you needed tonight. You open your eyes slowly. The lantern's light greets you like a warm hand cupping your cheek. The air feels softer, warmer, like the entire room has been exhaling beside you, in sync with every breath you've taken. You rise from the chair, and the cushions lift with the faintest reluctance, as though they would hold you a little longer if you asked. But they also understand when it is time to let you stand. Your legs feel lighter. Your chest feels less crowded. Your thoughts, the ones awake and the ones asleep, feel settled, like snowflakes finding their proper place. You lift the lantern again. The handle fits your fingers perfectly, as if it reshaped itself to remember your grip. But here's the strange part. The room doesn't dim when you take the lantern from its place beside the chair. It stays bright enough to hold you, almost as though the light has seeped into the walls, into the shelves, into the wooden grain of every piece of furniture. You take a slow step toward the door, the same door that only opened when you approached gently. It waits for you again, patient and warm, edges glowing faintly in the lantern light. As you reach it, it opens before you, a soft invitation, a tender farewell, a promise. You pause on the threshold, turning back for one last look. The study glows with a kind of memory, the memory of you. The chair sinks slightly, as if missing the shape of your rest already. The quill sits, perfectly still, but its feather tip seems poised in quiet attention. The desk bowl is dim now, but peaceful, content with the burden it helped you set down tonight. And the shelves, they shimmer in the faintest ripple, as if hundreds of resting thoughts are breathing quietly, grateful for the space to sleep. You step through the doorway. The corridor greets you again, soft-walled, silent, patient. The lantern light stretches ahead of you, warm as a guiding hand on your back. You walk slowly, without hurry, without weight, and somewhere halfway down the corridor, something inside your chest shifts. Not a drop, not a tightening, but an opening, a warmth, a widening ease. You realize in that tender, dawning way, you don't leave the study behind, it comes with you. Its calm settles into the rhythm of your breath. Its quiet follows the slow beat of your heart. Its light lingers in the soft spaces behind your thoughts, where rest is born. By the time you reach the end of the corridor, the lantern dims, not extinguished, just resting, the way everything in that room rests. And with your next exhale, you understand the truth of this place. You can return here any time. You don't need the hallway. You don't need the lantern. You don't need to wait for sleep to bring you to the door. The hidden study lives inside you now, softly, quietly, eternally. A place where your worries can whisper themselves into peace, and where you can always lay yourself gently down,